Hey everyone, it's Hotswap. Today's video features the ZoomTKL from Meletrix. I previously built and was impressed by their Zoom 65. You can check that video out via the link in the top right. So when Meletrix announced the ZoomTKL, I was most intrigued by its glass bottom design. Though generally not a fan of RGB, in this instance I think the subtle edge lighting on the sides adds a nice flair. As is typical of Meletrix boards, the ZoomTKL was offered in many different colors. I opted for white this time as I felt a more neutral board color would help the GMK Parcel keycaps to really pop. For switches, I opted for the excellent, if overpriced, duck linears from RAMA works. As usual, links for everything you'll see in this video can be found in the description below. Please do me a solid by smashing that like button and consider subscribing. Thanks in advance, and now let's get on with the video. All of the build components arrived in a carrying case embossed with the Meletrix logo. It's quite well made and a welcome inclusion with the build kit. Inside were the foam kit, the Hotswap PCB, polycarbonate plate, a set of 4 artisan keycaps that were a gift for participants in the original group buy, and the board itself with the daughter board pre-installed. The bottom and rear of the case feature recessed cutouts for the glass components. In the top of the carrying case were the gaskets, the 2250 mAh battery, top and bottom case feet in both black and white color options, a braided and coiled USB-A to USB-C cable, all the various screws needed for the build, and a set of stabilizers from Wuque Studio. The Wuque stabs feature padding around the wire elbows. I was curious how effective they would be at eliminating the need to lube the wires, so I opted not to use them stock and lubed only the stab housings. Given the 1.2mm PCB and flex cuts in both the PCB and PC plate, I opted to use most of the provided foam. This includes side strips to mitigate LED light bleed, pre-cut case foam for the battery and internal weight slots, plate foam, switch foam, and PCB foam. The standoffs are optional as I recall, but I always prefer to use them with softer plates like PC. They probably make very little difference when using plate foam, truth be told, but I'd rather have them in place should I choose to experiment later with removal of the plate foam. Installing the duck switches is pretty straightforward, though like the Affleon manufactured pink robins that I used in my Icky 68 build, I found that the ducks required a bit of tweezer action to align them perfectly with the plate. The gasket sleeves are pretty neat. I prefer this non-adhesive method over the adhesive ones that came with the Zoom 65. To prep the case, I first removed the 4 corner screws to separate the top and bottom. Here too, I appreciated the non-adhesive case feet that Meletrix provided in 2 color options. These are friction fit and cover up the screw holes to give the case exterior a screwless appearance. The exterior panels installed via 4 screws each from inside the bottom case for a completely seamless look. Next, I inserted the battery, installed the edge foam that prevents LED light bleed, and overlaid the pre-cut case foam for the optional internal weight cutout. The PCB is pretty straightforward. You just need to take a bit of care when removing the protective film so as not to rip the foam. I then connected the daughter board and the battery to the PCB and tested the sound of the spacebar. It was pretty horrendous. That elbow padding on the stab wires was doing nothing to eliminate rattle, so I injected some Krytox 205 grade 0 to solve the issue. The last steps were to screw the PCB sandwich to the case bottom, screw together the case housing, install the keycaps and peel off the protective film. I have to say, for fake glass this looks pretty damn sweet, and in my opinion GMK Parcel looks fantastic on this whiteboard. On to the sound and typing tests. For a TKL build kit that clocks in under 200 bucks, you have to hand it to Meletrix. This is a pretty sweet TKL with its tasteful use of RGB, glass-like exteriors, and wireless connectivity. Sure, I blew away any notion of budget by using the most expensive switches I've ever purchased, and GMK Parcel keycaps ain't cheap, so as built, this board clocks in at a not so budget-friendly $524. In terms of acoustics, I still prefer my Tiger 80 TKL, but as someone who is old enough to have shoeboxes full of airmail letters before email became a thing, this build is chock full of nostalgia. As for the switches, I'm glad I tried them, but I reckon the pink robins would have been just as nice and at close to half the cost, so I wouldn't use the ducks again. Alright, that'll do it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please help me to grow this channel and drop a like, smash subscribe and turn on notifications so you will know whenever I post a new video. And as always, thanks for watching.